Okay, good evening, everybody. Before we throw it over to the floor for questions, we'll get underway with a few words from Gareth Southgate.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Just to say that we're looking forward to the game tomorrow. Pleased with the week's preparation. We only have one slight doubt with Jesse Lingard, which is minor illness rather than injury. And we know that we're playing a Bulgarian team, obviously, who have recently changed manager, so it's a good challenge for us. I'm sure he'll have enjoyed having a more preparation time with his players, so we're looking forward to the game. For us, it's about maintaining the standard of our performance and improving from what we've done over the last couple of years. So I'm looking forward to seeing the players transfer what they've done on the training pitch into the game tomorrow.
Okay, Carve, do you want to get us underway?
Gareth, we just had a news conference with the Bulgarian manager, and he said that he thought that at the moment England were one of the top two best sides in the world, and he wanted Bulgaria to play like Gareth Southgate's England. How much of a compliment is that to you and the work that you've been doing?
Well, I think we've everything to prove in terms of where we're pitched in world rankings. I think we're competitive against any team. But equally, I think there are a number of teams who on their day, as was proved in the summer, are capable of beating us. So we have to keep striving to improve. And I think the mentality of the team is to do that. They're hungry to do that. They want to keep learning. We want to keep pushing each other every day in training. And if we do that, then we'll take those performances onto the field. So for us, I'm looking forward to the new international season, if you like.
Marcus is obviously sitting next to you. That would seem to suggest that he's going to start tomorrow. How big a season do you think it is for him, given the fact that he is now the main man at Manchester United?
Well, the club situation is whatever it is, but in terms of England, he's been a really consistent performer for us. A regular goal scorer for us, and an important part of our team for a couple of years. So it's great to see him having additional responsibility at United. But from our perspective, he's one of a number of exciting attacking players that we have, and that competition for places is a great thing for us, because whoever starts, we need to be able to accelerate the game from the bench and have those options from the bench as well, and we've got the players to do that. So as a coach, that's an enjoyable problem to have.
Marcus, if I just may ask you, one of the big issues so far this season has been the racist abuse that players have had to put up with on social media. This is the first chance we've had to speak to you about it. How do you feel about the fact that this is still happening and it's 2019?
I think, like you say, it's obviously disappointing. It seems to me like things have been going backwards rather than forwards, and you know, it's tough. But like you've been seeing all around the world, people have been standing together, and I think in this moment that's all we can do. You know, and we have to rely on the campaigns and stuff like that to sort of deal with the situation, because you know, our voice only has so much power.
Do you think it's time that the social media companies did more about it? Isn't it time that they were accountable for what is published on their platforms? Because some of the stuff we see on social media, you can't print in newspapers, you can't broadcast it on TV or radio, but on social media it seems to be a free-for-all.
Obviously, social media is a big problem because of that. For me, it's too easy to do whatever you like on the internet. Any of us now could go on and create accounts and write what we want under anybody's post, and nobody would ever know. But I think it's easy to sort of figure it out. You know, if you have to show identification to create an account, that means everybody can only have one account, rather than there being, like, I know for me, there's hundreds of thousands of people that use my name on social media, and they can, write what they like. So I think obviously a lot of the racism has been coming from social media as well. So, that one would be an easy one to sort of get rid of. But yeah, there's a lot of things that need to change.
As a human being, how does it feel when you read this stuff about yourself and your teammates?
To be honest, especially the ones on me, I've not actually seen. I've never been a big fan of social media purely because of the reasons I said before. It's too easy for anybody to write whatever they want. So I try and stay away from it. But obviously, I thought it was important for me to say my part, and that's why I went on my channels and wrote what I wanted to write about the situation. But there's been other examples. Obviously, Romelu. I think Jaden had a good speech about it the other day. So people are listening, people are speaking. So one step at a time. Hopefully, we can put it right.
Gareth, this week it was announced that Chris Powell was becoming one of your coaches. What do you think he will bring to the role, and how important do you think it is that the FA are appointing BAME coaches in key roles?
Yeah, I think we're trying to be at the forefront of giving opportunities to coaches from minority ethnic groups, and Chris is a good example of somebody that's fully qualified, good experience as a manager, obviously experience of international football, has actually worked with some of the players in our squad when he's been club manager. So I'm hoping it's going to be a brilliant insight for him and experience for him into how we work, and he'll be able to bring qualities that we don't have within our coaching team. So, we're looking forward to it. Of course, it's part of a broader scheme that all of our national teams are working with coaches and giving them those opportunities. We hope to create role models that young people can aspire to, that they can see there is opportunity, that they can see that some of the barriers they might feel have been there are being broken down, and we think that's a very strong and important message.
And do you think the pathway now exists for us to have a black England manager in our lifetime?
Oh, I'm sure. I think in the end, of course, people have got to get opportunities at club level, probably of some description, or if our national teams can develop our own coaches, that's another way of doing it. We've got some very, very promising young coaches in our system. Justin Cochran, who takes our under-16s, spent 3 days with us this week as well, so he had an insight into how we work. Kevin Betsy is with our under-17s this week. I'm really impressed with what he's done. So I think very often people will look just at high-profile former players, but there are actually lots of academies, some very bright, intelligent young coaches coming through, and the pathway doesn't have to be that you've been a top X player by any means. I think that would be a mistake, because if you look at some of the best managers there have been in the world, they haven't had that top playing experience, and they've maybe had more time to go and study and learn their trade.
And finally from me, this week Michael Owen's book has been serialised in the Daily Mirror. How disappointing is it for you that two of England's greatest strikers, Michael Owen and Alan Shearer, seem to be at war with each other, especially the fact that you obviously know them and played with them?
Yeah, I think you never like to see people falling out publicly, and that's a shame. I think as you get older, the people that I had fallouts with when I was playing or that I've managed, you want to, I'm of an opinion, to try and reconcile things rather than inflame them. So it's a shame, but that's between them really.
David Ornstein, yeah.
Hi Gareth. As proactive as the schemes are that the FA are doing on the coaching front, is it depressing that these schemes have to be implemented at all?
Well, I don't think we can do anything about the past. We've got to look forward. So how do you start to make a difference? And as more and more black coaches become qualified and have experience at a higher level, then we've got to make sure those pathways are open so that nobody, when they're applying for jobs, can say, well, you don't have the experience or you don't have the background that we're looking for. And as I say, I'm very confident that I'm seeing lots of very good young coaches who are going to come through. People like Liam Rossinia, who's working with Derby this season, as well as the guys that I've already mentioned. There are a number of names I could mention. Paul Nevin was with us last season on this scheme. So, as I say, I'm very optimistic about the future. I think I would go back to, it's similar to any English coaches. We're always highlighting the ex-players. We sometimes forget those that haven't played at the highest level, who very often prove to be the best coaches of all.
What do you make of the racism that's been taking place on and off the pitch? And also, it seems that outside of England, there's a perception in some quarters that we make too much of a fuss about it, to the extent that the Inter Milan fans issued a statement saying this is just a way of putting a player off.
Well, I think I've spoken at length about my feelings regarding any racism in any part of society. Completely unacceptable. I think we also have to understand that our country is a lot more diverse than other parts of Europe, and so inevitably, we should be further ahead because we've had a multicultural country for many more years. You would hope, if anything, that we would be further ahead than we are. So I don't look towards other countries. I look towards ourselves and resolving our own problems ahead of anything else, really.
Marcus, Jayden said to us on Monday that he fears some players will start losing their love of the game and not wanting to play football, or think what's the point in playing football if they're being racially abused.
I think it's how, as the incidents have happened, everyone's come together. The minute that stops, that's when I think there could be a problem. Because right now, obviously, everybody loves the sport and loves football, and that's what we wanted to do when we was kids, and it's still what we want to do now. So, for these issues to be coming up all the time, it feels a bit strange to me. And I think the minute we can sort the situation out, the better it will be for everyone.
Gareth, just finishing on the football, with the Euros now looming sort of quickly into sight, do you feel you're looking at a squad, especially with the younger players coming through and the blend with the experience, that is capable of challenging for a trophy that would be lifted on home soil?
Well, we've got to take care of qualification. Every day we have to work to be the best we can be, and over the last couple of years, I think we've started to put together an exciting team that now sells out Wembley very quickly. Hopefully we're playing in a style that the supporters look forward to. And we have real competition for places, and we've got to make sure we have a mindset that every day we train, every session that we're in, we're operating at the highest possible level and push ourselves, and then if we do that, then our performances will be right on the field.
Dan from ITV.
Marcus, Dan from ITV, just a couple for you if possible. How big of an opportunity do you see this for you to kick-start your season?
I think, to be honest, every time we come to England, it's always a huge opportunity. At the end of the day, you're playing for your country, and it's always a proud moment. And you want to do the best you can. I think as a team we all have that mindset coming in, and I think that's why we're so strong, to be honest.
And just wanted to touch on the racism one final time, if I can. Prince William spoke today and said that he called it outrageous, and said he's fed up of talking about it, but also said that part of the mental health work that he's doing, he wants to bring racism and work on racism in that. Do you welcome that?
I think to be honest, it's whatever the individual that's being abused needs. However he needs to be supported. And for me, it's all about steps going forward. If he needs help in order to sort of move on with his career or move on with his life, then 100% give him the help that he needs. But it's a big one for me that the campaigns need to step up and do something about it.
Kerry Brown.
I'm afraid I'm going to ask as well. I'm just wondering how much everyone's talking about it in St George's Park, because this has affected players throughout the age groups. Are you all talking about it collectively now? Is there support? Is everyone just asking what we can do? Is it a big conversation topic?
To be honest, I've always said the more we speak about it, it doesn't have much of an impact. We've tried. There's been examples everywhere where people have spoke out, and I wouldn't say they've been ignored, but nothing's really changed. So just to see it sort of spike in the last couple of months, it's been unbelievable. So we want to just nip it in the bud whilst it's happening.
What was your reaction when Twitter, who have been one of the leading social media sites where we've seen a lot of users come out with a vitriol of hate, said that they would monitor the accounts of 50 black players? What was your reaction to that as a suggestion, as an alternative?
They would do what, sorry?
They said they would monitor the account of 50 black players, and that would be some sort of solution.
I think that doesn't change anything. What I said before, the number of accounts that are out there is ridiculous. So the way to sort of control it is everybody in the world that uses these platforms, they can only have one account. That's one way to sort it, because a lot of them, they're not doing it from their own accounts, they're just dummy accounts. So that way the identity of the person who's doing it is never seen.
There is greater regulation in some countries on social media accounts, how you can set them up. If Twitter, if Instagram, if the social media sites aren't going to take action when everyone is talking about it, when it's making back pages and pages, front pages, would you like the government to start intervening and telling them they must change?
Well, to be honest, I think people will start to come off the platforms. If it's doing more bad than good, I don't think there's a reason of having the channels. For me, the only reason why I actually have the social media channels is to sort of help because a lot of my fans are young people, and you want to help them in the future, and just little stuff, whether it's your lifestyle or football related. If you can give them bits of information that might help them in the future to become whatever it is they want to become. That's what the strength was of social media. And the minute sort of the cons outweigh the pros, it leaves you with not really much point being on there.
Okay, we've got time for a couple more.
Can I ask you about the football then? A lot of fresh faces coming into this side. There's always been talk about the creativity in the midfield, the service to yourselves, the likes and Sterling and Harry. What's it been like with the new players, the likes of Maddison and Mount, coming into the side?
Yeah, it's been brilliant. I think they just seem to fit right in. I think since Gareth's come in, the way the younger age groups train in comparison to how we train is very similar. So when it's their time to sort of take the step up to the first team, it happens seamlessly, and it's a massive strength of ours. And the more players we can get coming up and coming through, the better.
Gareth, one question for you. We've learnt a lot in the last few weeks about subjective opinions in football. Harry Kane was the subject to opinion at the weekend as he went down for a penalty. Have you spoken to the players about that this week? Do you like your players to rely on their own instincts of the game? It's a very hard thing to judge and a very hard thing to actually ask players about, because they assume you're hinting at diving. But how have you approached that this week? Have you needed to? And how has Harry been in training?
To be honest, I'm not really sure of the incident you're talking about. So
after Tottenham's game, there was a lot of match analysis, and the big question was Was it a deserved penalty? Some broadcasters thought so. The other suggestion that he made a bit of the action, and the suggestion he dived.
Yeah, to be honest, we were into camp, so as soon as the game was finished, I'm just checking everyone's fit. So I tend not to watch so much of the analysis. I watch about 15 matches a week, either live or remotely. So we're always analysing the games ourselves. But I don't have time to sit and at the start of an international week and listen to the opinion. So I'm sorry, I can't help you with that one.
On all the number of back pages as well. So I'm just wondering if you ever give any advice to players when there's been a suggestion that they're making too much of something, or you just tell them to play instinctively and rely on instinct.
Yeah, I think we have. Forgive me because I don't have time to read the papers either. But we have Andy updates me, so that's where I get my info. I think we have a group of players who, in an attacking sense, are always going to be attempting to take people on, getting themselves into dangerous positions. There's always going to be contact in the box, and I think we have an honest group who they want to score goals first and foremost. So if they've got the opportunity to score, they're going to go and try and take that. So I haven't felt that's been an issue with our team. Certainly in the England matches that we've had, I can't recall any incident where I thought anybody had tried to or had stepped over the mark. So I haven't felt the need to do that at this stage.
Okay, I'll finish here.
Gareth, Bruce Schoenfeld from ESPN in the States. Putting aside which three of your four attacking options happen to be playing tomorrow, can you tell me about Jayden stylistically and some of the things that he offers you that maybe a traditional English winger doesn't offer you, and how that creates some different kinds of options than even, not in terms of talent, but just in terms of style?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very difficult to say what a traditional winger would be, because every individual player, if you go back to Chris Waddle, John Barnes, they all had slightly different technical attributes and different styles. But Jayden, in terms of his game, is hugely exciting in terms of his balance, the quality of his crosses. He gets into areas behind defences and the way that Dortmund play is a significant part of that. Plays lots of those low crosses across the 6-yard box. What I really like is his decision making. When he's moving at speed, he's able to get his head up and make the right decisions in terms of weight of pass, which pass is the best one to pick out. And that's not an easy thing to do when you're travelling at speed with the ball. Very often a lesser player has got to focus on the ball itself. So you'll see him play moving at speed and then identify an option of movement outside what you would think would be his gaze. And I think that's a really difficult skill and something which is very exciting for him. So his actual dribbling ability and ability to go past people is obvious, but I think that asset of his game is at the highest possible level.
I believe in this selection, only he and Kieran are playing outside the Premier League at this time, right? And obviously you have some countries where the manager has half their players outside the domestic league, but and it's 2019. You can watch every one of everyone's games no matter what. But is it at all not even a difficulty, but an issue to have an entire squad well aware week after week of what each other's doing, an entire group of selectors well aware, right there in the same, watching the same players week after week, and then have this one and now two players outside of that? Does it put them in at all a different situation, a different position?
No, I think from there, I think it's brilliant from their perspective. They're getting a different challenge, a different sort of education, slightly different style of game. Jayden as a young player and a young person, it's a brilliant life experience. But Kieran's finding the same. Having to learn a new language, different culture that you're living within, different types of training methodology, working with two of the top coaches in the world. So I don't see a negative at all. It certainly clearly isn't harming their chances with us. We monitor everybody extremely closely. I think more and more of our young players are moving abroad. We've got young players playing in France, in Germany, we've had players go to the Netherlands on loan quite regularly. Mason Mount's had a spell at Vitesse of this squad. So I think it will become more and more apparent. I think young people now from England are more prepared to travel across any number of industries. They don't see that as, they have to stay on the island, whatever happens politically. The pros outweigh any. I don't see a negative to it at all, really.
And could there, in the end, be a positive for England to have some of your top players immersed in some of these other leagues? Obviously, world football is more and more world football, but different leagues play with different styles, and they come back and bring to the selection a different experience than the bulk of the selection has had.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a positive. As you've rightly identified, different styles. But Kieran's playing for one of the most successful teams in European football over the last 10 years. One of the most successful coaches. Jayden's playing in front of 80,000 fans at Dortmund every week. That brings huge pressure, and we want our players to be feeling that intensity of game, that expectation every week. Marcus has it playing for Manchester United. You can't have an off day without there being a huge reaction to that, and that's part of what we have to cope with when you're playing for England. So it's definitely a positive, and I'm certain that more players will follow their path.
Okay, Will and Adair, thank you very much.
Okay.
Can I sing now?